Hi guys, what's going on and welcome back to another episode of Conqueror's Blade. So today I kind of want to take a look at what I think is one of the more interesting units that was added in with the Season 3 update, and that's the half-star Martellatori. So if we go over and take a look at them in the Mercenary tab, we can see obviously they are the first Mercenary unit we've had added in since the sort of the Black Dragons set, and they are by far the cheapest in leadership. Although, considering our half-star unit, they're also one of the most expensive mercenary units. So, kind of what about it is them that makes it such a good unit? That didn't come out in a lot of sense, did it? But you know what I mean. What makes them so good? Well, a lot of it comes down to their leadership cost. Let's go and have a look at them in the barracks. So they have a leadership cost of 30. And that is by and far the cheapest mercenary unit currently in the game. I think the next cheapest after that is probably going to be the Black Dragon Archers, which are a leadership cost of 100. So these are over 3 times more expensive in leadership, which means that these Martellatori, are actually cheaper than bringing something like Serfs. They're equivalent to like a village watchman in terms of leadership. Yet they come with the full 10% boost that any of the other mercenary units have. So they still get that 10% increase to XP for heroes, 10% unit XP increase, 10% bronze, 10% honour, and they have no kit resupply costs like the others as well. And that's really kind of awesome for a unit like this. And for only 30 leadership, you're getting a third of a premium account for 30 leadership. So, as I said at the start, it is worth pointing out, these guys are going to cost you, for one of these, 700,000 silver or 4,900 sovereigns. I think the sovereign price is a little disproportionately high. I mean, that's just like £40 or €40 or something like that. It's quite a lot in terms of sovereigns. The silver price, yeah, I mean, it's quite a lot. If you're a new player, this is going to feel like an extremely long way away. I think we'll probably have a separate video shortly on sort of ways to try and increase your silver income. But it is an attainable amount. I've brought them. Personally, I didn't get given them or anything like that. I've brought them, and I've still got enough to buy a second one if I wanted to, and I've never got any silver other than through, what I've earned by playing the game. So it is perfectly attainable. It just can feel like quite a long way away if you're a newer player. How they actually perform as a unit is kind of interesting because they get a few specific benefits. So they are obviously designed in mind to work as a unit of serfs that pushes siege equipment. That's kind of the logic behind them. They get specific bonuses towards that. They get both a ranged resistance, and it's kind of worded a little bit strangely, but in effect, they say they take less damage when pushing siege equipment, but I think also from my experience, siege equipment itself also takes less damage. You'll see kind of in some of the footage later when you're pushing like a battering ram with these Martellatori, then you'll notice that the battering ram gets like a little protection emblem above it, and it seems to resist damage that little bit better. So that's certainly a benefit. So they're all sort of geared up towards these really early stage battles, pushing siege equipment. They're your cannon fodder unit, but they're a cheap 30 leadership cannon fodder unit that actually performs pretty well. They aren't going to be amazing in combat. We can go and take a look at their veterancy line. I mean, this is really not what they are about. You only have to look at the defensive stats to see piercing defense of 72. They do get shot to pieces by enemy ranged units. 101 on slashing. Yeah, they're going to struggle a little bit there. They do actually okay amounts of damage, which is kind of surprising. Because they've got hammers, they actually do blunt damage. A 730 blunt damage and a 706 armor penetration is actually pretty good because most units have very little blunt defense. So it means they actually do okay. They'll sort of hit reasonable tier units for sort of 600 standard, maybe 800,000 critical. So it's actually really not that bad. The problem is, an archer fires a wave of arrows at them and they just drop down dead because they're really not built for that sort of resistance. They do get a small shield though to kind of block a little bit of damage when pushing stuff. But yeah, as I say, never going to be holding up tremendously well. It's not really their combat ability, which is why you're buying them. You are buying them for the fact that 30 leadership and for that 10% bonus, and the fact that they work really well in terms of pushing siege equipment, and that's kind of what they're built around. I've thrown a couple of doctrines on there. We can take off. I've just got the Ashigaru, my samurai armor on them. I don't know why I kind of felt it suited them. But this is what kind of they look like as a standard unit. So let's go and actually hop into some battles with them. At least you can see them a little bit in combat. We kind of have no super high kill games. As I say, this is really not what that unit excels in. Not really designed for that. But they are really quite a good fun unit. And that 10% boost is well worth having if you can get it. So, as I was saying at the start, I pretty much exclusively use them for siege pushing. Or that really is their main purpose. You can see they get the little defensive shield above the siege actual equipment itself, kind of see their health, and they hold up really quite nicely in this role. And I think they perform this well because they get these bonuses better than most of the peasant units. You see people still try to do these little cavalry charges. I thought this was quite funny. It's quite easy just to move out of the way of these when people try and counter battering rams and stuff like this. As long as you just avoid the initial charge, they're pretty easy to deal with. And though they're not amazing, this unit, they are fine with a few low-tier Cordeliers like this. You know, so long as they don't get hit by the main charge, then they can deal with cav like that just fine. And once they've been driven off, you can just get back on the ram and continue to use them as a unit like this. Though obviously they take range fire, some of the enemy ranged heroes on the walls above shooting down on us. Yeah, they take damage. As we saw, they've got, what, a piercing defense of like 80 or something? They're not great, but they still get close to 6,000 hit points. I might throw a health doctrine on there to sort of get that to a good 6,000. And, you know, they still take a good few shots to kill, so they hold up pretty well, to be honest. And as you see, the battering ram takes a little bit less damage when it starts to get hit by some of the fire drops and stuff like that. And they can get in, batter the gate down. And this is what the job they're designed to perform for 30 leadership. They are designed to push stuff and earn you that 10% bonus, and that's really what it's all about. So you can see in this example, you'll see in a minute, they start to take a fair bit of fire from an enemy cannon up on the walls, and you'll kind of see the damage they take, but also a little bit later on we'll see the damage that the battering ram takes, and you'll see it's actually not very much. So, of course, if they get hit by cannons, they do start to die, but they've received, what, 3 cannonballs now, and they're only down to 27. They don't die super fast, they're not super fragile or anything like that. They just, you know, they die if they get hit by cannonballs. And you can see in this case, it takes 2 or 3 hits to kill each one. You know, it takes off like a third of the health, or just over a third of their health each time sort of a cannonball comes in next to them. So they do start to die down, but all in all they perform pretty well. And you'll see in a minute when we actually go up to the battering ram, you'll see how much better the battering ram has performed. They take quite a few hits there, and it really hasn't lost all that much of its health. And I think that's down to the bonus to the siege equipment that the unit itself actually gets. So what about their actual combat ability? Well, you have to bear in mind they only cost 30 leadership. It's never going to be anything super amazing. But as I said at the start, they do get that blunt damage, so they don't perform all that badly. I mean, the problem is the fact they have basically no defensive stats, and they get stunned and killed pretty quickly against higher tier units, even though they can actually do a reasonable amount of damage against them when they get the hits in. As I say, when you sort of start getting critical hits on things like Imperial Spears, then you're hit for 1,000, and they work quite well in that capacity. So with the group, we're just in basically a peasant charge. There's another units of Martellatori, and I think some serfs here as well. And we've just managed to charge through absolutely no defence on this group of archers. Between the sort of 3 or 4 heroes, we've probably not got much more than 100 leadership in all our units. And the amount of leadership damage we can do in a situation like this is really intense. And, you know, the unit performs fine in this sort of capacity. I'm racking up some kills as a hero, but the unit also managed to get itself close to sort of 15-20 kills just doing this sort of situation. Because, you know, they're archers, they're weak. These guys can get in, smack them. We don't really take them any losses. They work fine in this capacity. Amazingly, I don't actually bleed to death here. Came a little bit close. And then, of course, all the people who have just lost all their archers were a little bit bitter about it and came back and slaughtered us all. But it shows that these Martellatori, they aren't amazing combat units. For 30 leadership, they are a perfectly adequate unit. And, yeah, you can easily get some kills with them if you're a little bit careful about kind of what you target with them and kind of avoid going for anything that's too heavy. They really suffer against things like prefecture guards and squires and that sort of stuff, but they do better once they can get in and actually start getting that blunt damage applied. Actually get some pretty reasonable damage values. So really, that's all I've got for you today. I just kind of wanted to highlight this unit because I think it's really the mercenary unit to have at the moment. The leadership, particularly with the way that the Carnifex has changed, you know, it's lost its plus 100 leadership bonus in the latest update, and that's really kind of changing the way the battlefield. Leadership is more important than ever, and by being able to get rid of those Black Dragon archers or the javelins or whatever it is that costs you 110 leadership for that 10% bonus, and replace it with a unit that costs 30 leadership, particularly when most people bring a stack of serfs or, you know, woodcutters or you know, village watchmen or something like that to push siege equipment at the start of the game anyway. This is the perfect unit to replace them with and fulfill that role. And yeah, I think they're a really, really good unit to have, and certainly one that everyone should be trying to work towards, because I think they're the mercenary unit of the hour at the moment. Anyway, as I say, that's all I've got for you. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, do let me know what you think in the comments down below. Of course, subscribe to the channel for a load more Conqueror Blade content, and I shall see you guys all on the next video.